Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
You have to make time for each other and do things that bring you joy.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
I'll Do Better Tomorrow is what we call our Friday podcast. I love this segment because we get to talk about the learnings that we've had over the past week as we've practiced our parenting. I should mention I'm Justin Coulson. I'm the author of a whole bunch of books about making families happy. And I'm here with Kylie, my wife, mum to our 6 kids. Kylie, what I love about Fridays is that we get to talk about our Little Wins Wednesday winner. And I just love saying it. It's fun. It just rolls off the tongue. Our Little Wins Wednesday winner is basically somebody who jumps onto our Facebook page on a Wednesday when we say, hey, tell us about your little ones and your little wins with your little ones. And this week, we've had a winner that I think is just awesome. So when you jump onto Facebook and share your little wins with your little ones, the winner gets a poster pack of our A5 posters of all of the Justinisms, all the stuff that I say to help you to be a better parent. We've got a bunch of posters and we're giving the win this week to Jade Church, who told us this beautiful story.
We've been making a real effort to get curious, not furious this week, and it paid off last night. Our middle child, 7, has been really acting out at bedtime, throwing herself around, getting out of bed and just being plain crazy. After a long cuddle and a discussion, she shared with us that she didn't like to go to bed because the dark and the quiet made her think of Nan, who lived with us and has just recently passed away after a long battle of cancer. To think that we could have just reacted to the behaviour and got furious at her makes me feel sick. We worked out a solution and play sleep music for her to listen to. That is a massive win for us.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's gorgeous.
So, Jade, good on you for getting curious, not furious. That's what we're talking about with I'll Do Better Tomorrow. That's what it's really all about.
That reminds me of an experience we had with one of our children many years ago. She refused to go to school and I couldn't work out what was going on. And after a little bit of a discussion with her, it came out that she wanted a new school bag. And I couldn't understand why she wanted a new school bag because she had a new school bag, but she needed a new school bag because she thought that everyone would be her friend if she had a new school bag because she was really, really struggling with friends. And here I was getting frustrated because I just bought her a school bag, but she needed a specific school bag because she wanted friends. It had nothing to do with the school bag.
And the fact that you were able to be curious, not furious, that you spent time understanding, not reprimanding, meant that she didn't get a new school bag, but you got to have a really important conversation with her about what it means to have friends and what it means to be popular. And that ended up, we ended up changing schools because of that conversation, and it set her off on a brand new trajectory of joy and happiness, and she's been one of our happiest kids ever since.
Yes.
Really, really important that we get curious, not furious, because it can literally change the trajectory of somebody's life. So, Jade Church, congratulations. Our Little Wins Wednesday winner. You've inspired us. You've made Kylie get a bit weepy and cry. It's a beautiful story, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's really, really special. So, Kylie, I'll Do Better Tomorrow. It's pretty much our opportunity to reflect on our week and work out how we can be more intentional next week, either because we got something right and we want to replicate it or because we completely blew it and there's work to do. Would you like to go first today and tell us whether or not we need to be replicating or reducing and rethinking what happened in our parenting world this week for you?
Well, look, we often talk about the things that we do with our children, but today I actually wanted to highlight something that we've done together recently. We went on a date.
Yes, we did.
It can be really, really hard to schedule time in to be together, especially when you have lots of children. And getting a babysitter can be hard work. And it can seem like it's just another thing to add to the to-do list. But one of the things that we've experienced time and time again over the years is just the realisation that we need to carve out time for us as well.
Can I say something that's going to sound really cheesy on the podcast, but I really mean it? You are never another thing to do on my to-do list.
I'm grateful for that, honey. Thank you.
So we had a great date. We jumped on the scooters because we bought a few two electric scooters like last year sometime when they were on special, and we zipped around.
We drove into the city, and I love the freedom that the scooters give us. I don't have to go up the hills. I can just scoot up the hills, and we just get to have so much fun. And in Brisbane City, they've really started like putting the fairy lights all through the trees. So once upon a time, it was just that one tree over by QUT.
Yeah, Gardens Point.
Yeah. And now you pretty much can't go anywhere in the city without seeing these beautiful lit up trees with all these fairy lights. So we took photos under the fairy light tree, and
I just love scooting along the top of the Kangaroo Point cliffs and over the Story Bridge. I think for anyone who is in Brisbane, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the evenings, it is just gorgeous.
And the cooler weather means that it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, actually, I didn't like how cold it was. But the take-home message is,
you have to make time for each other and do things that bring you joy. It's so easy for us to just get into a rut and we just, go to the same restaurant or go and watch a movie or something. But we have really enjoyed getting outside and exploring.
I'm kind of unusual here, but I've always insisted that a movie is not a date. A movie is something that you do when you don't want to talk to the person that you're with. A movie is something you do when you've got lousy company. If you really love the person that you're with, do anything but a movie. Go somewhere where you can engage, where you can see them, hear them, value them, connect with them.
We don't watch very many movies. And if we do, it's literally because we are both exhausted. There's nothing left in the tank.
Which means that we usually fall asleep. What's the point of watching it anyway? I'm not a big movie fan. Hey, I'm so glad that you shared that because that makes me feel a little bit better. My I'll Do Better Tomorrow is coming up next. And it's a bit of a tough one to talk about.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Imagine a home where discipline got results without anyone having to feel bad or in trouble. The Do's and Don'ts of Discipline is a webinar to help parents set limits with love, compassion and humanity. Find it now at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we are sharing our wins and failures, our reflections of the week that has been in our household.
I'm going to share a challenge that I've had this week, and it is just that it's hard to be a really great parent or a really great partner when you can't be around.
Yeah, you really haven't been around. I was interested to know what you were going to talk about today.
Yeah, so on Monday I flew to Adelaide. I spent some time on the Northern York Peninsula, and then I was back in Brisbane again on Tuesday, but I was working all day with clients on Tuesday, running workshops and giving presentations. On Wednesday, I was on the Gold Coast running presentations, and then I had a webinar back in the office at home on Wednesday night. And it wasn't until Thursday that I was kind of around, but I was catching up on all the admin that I'd missed, and it just had a huge office day because I'd been gone all week, and I was gone all last week as well. And then last night, I was out doing some recording for a massive project that I've been working on. I didn't get home until, I don't even want to talk about what time I got home. I mean, I barely got home. And now here we are on Friday, and I'm kind of thinking, I really liked it with COVID lockdowns because I was home all the time. And I know that that's an insensitive thing to say because COVID hasn't been good. But what I used to do is I used to catch like 120, 130 flights a year. I would be traveling the country, running parenting workshops and running seminars and doing stuff everywhere. And COVID's completely changed that. And I've been home for the best part of a year and a half now.
It's been the best year and a half we've had, I think.
It's been
such a delight.
And so I'm sensitive to the fact that it's a real privilege to be able to do what I do. And I don't want to complain about it because I love it. To be in front of audiences again and to be able to share and watch parents cry and laugh and tap into what they value most as parents, and to be able to stand in front of, I mean, I've spoken to thousands of school kids over the last couple of weeks about things like respect for relationships and consent. And I literally had school kids come up to me at the end of my presentations and fall into my arms and sob because of the things that I've shared that have touched them, because they've been the victims of unkindness or because they want to be kinder. It's been extraordinary to be able to, it's such a privilege to be able to do the work that I do. So I'm not,
and it's a privilege to be able to support you in doing it.
Yeah, so I'm not complaining about it. But if we're going to be honest in this podcast and talk about what's good and what's bad or what we're learning and how to be more intentional, what's really stood out to me is it's really hard to say to you, see you later, honey, I'm going to go and make everyone else's families happier this week. I'll be back at the end of the week. And then you're left at home. And I know that so many families go through this one way or the other. Some people just have jobs that require them to leave the house at 6 a.m. and they don't get back until 7 p.m. And they don't see the kids until the weekend. And on the weekend, you've got to run around to sport and you've got to ferry the kids here and there. And you've also got to try and mow the lawn and clean the house and do all the chores.
And it's really easy to be on the other end, being the person who's left behind and feeling like you've been
hard done by. Did you feel hard done by while I was gone? I reckon, well, you did because you said it to me on the phone. I hate it when you leave me. It's so hard to do all of this.
I do hate it. But one of the things that I have had to learn over the years as we have gone through this process time and time again is the acknowledgement that I can't be mum and dad. And I don't ever try. And I accept in those moments when you are not here that I just can't do everything. And so often we don't have a home-cooked meal, or we don't,
have a meal at all.
The kids fend for themselves lots of times because I'm busy getting kids to and from activities, and I can't be in two places at once. And so in those moments, I just have to be kind to myself. I have to acknowledge that I can only do as much as I can do, and that's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, hearing you say that makes me feel worse, to be honest, because what I hear you say is I'm being mum, but the kids need dad, and you're not actually there. And I know that's the case. I mean, there's a lot of single mums that are out there that are living with that reality every day, and who are literally they're doing the long hours that I've just said I've struggled to have to do over the last couple of weeks, but they don't have a support person at home. They're relying on in-laws, or they're relying on grandparents. They're relying on out-of-school hours care or babysitters or nannies or whatever it might be. It's just, I think what I really wanted to highlight, it's not a pity party. It's just an acknowledgement. It's really tough to get the balance right, no matter what your circumstances are, whether you're a fly-in, fly-out worker, or you're somebody who does shift work or just long days, or maybe you're doing it on your own. And I kind of I wanted to acknowledge, if we're going to talk about how I'll do better tomorrow, it's made me reflect on just how much all of us as parents prize and value the opportunity to be together with our family, to make the most of those moments, and to make sure that we don't get caught up in the thick of thin things. One of my favourite quotes from years ago was, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And sometimes when I'm out on the road like that, I sort of think to myself, is this the main thing? Like, is this what I'm really doing this for?
Well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. What are we doing for Super Saturday?
Well, let's talk about that once we finish the podcast, because I haven't got anything planned because I've been so busy. But we need to work it out because, and if you've been, I think that's probably the take-home message, really. We've got a take-home message from you that we've got to spend time as a couple. And the take-home message from me is, when you are that busy, as soon as it stops, as soon as you've got the capacity to be present, be intentional about it. So I can't wait to jump off the podcast and have a conversation with you about how I can be intentional tonight with the kids and what we can do for Super Saturday so that it can be a really super Saturday with the family. I'm excited for it, and you've just reminded me of how important that is. We hope that was a useful conversation for you. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media, and Craig Bruce is our executive producer. If you love the podcast, please let other people know about it by sharing your ratings and reviews at Apple Podcasts so that it increases the visibility of the podcast. Hey, next week, I'm so excited for some of the conversations that we're going to be having. Big, important conversations. We'll continue the discussion that we're having with Megan Mast, the professor from Michigan State University, about the pornography plague that is besetting our children. And on Monday, we're going to have a chat about time affluence. How can we create a sense of time affluence, extending on that conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, where I was saying how we were really going to work hard on having more time, only for me to complain today that we have no time at all. We need to dive a little bit deeper there. So we'll do that next week on the Happy Families podcast. If you'd like more info in the meantime about how to make your family happier, or to check out our membership, you can go to happyfamilies.com.au.